This is ECM Capital Comment, and I'm Tim Budig. The new man at the helm of the Republican Party of Minnesota is 41-year-old Tony Sutton of Inver Grove Heights. Sutton, a successful restaurateur, graduated from Hibbing High School and began his political activism by door-knocking for President Reagan in 1986. Already a Republican Party official, Sutton was elected party chairman in June. Although the party has taken a few hits under the chin in recent elections, Sutton is upbeat about its prospects going into the 2010 election. He talks of an aggressive Republican Party, one starting out of the gate early and starting out strong.
And I honestly believe that it's not a matter of if we gain seats here in Minnesota in the legislature. I think it's how many seats we gain. I think we have history on our side. It's the first midterm election of a first-term president. The party out of power traditionally does better. I think the fact that Democrats are very much overreaching when it comes to spending and taxes and health care and those sorts of things will create a ricochet effect in which people will start to come back to the Republican Party. I think the Republican Party will be doing a better job in communicating its message. I mean, I think from a policy point of view, we're going to be a lot better on being staunch fiscal conservatives, on talking about limited government, lower taxes, less government spending. Elections are about contrasts, and so I think if we draw a bright, shiny line between what we talk about and what they talk about, all these other factors. The old conventional wisdom, for example, in politics in Minnesota was people really don't think about politics till after the state fair. I don't buy that anymore. Absolutely not. I think that by the time the state fair rolled around the last couple of election cycles, it was pretty much over. People had made up their minds, and that we need to be more engaged during what I call the persuasion phase of the election. We need to be talking to voters right now, through the end of next summer, as they're making up their minds. And that's a big responsibility on us.
Republican Governor Tim Pawlenty has often spoken of the need for expanding the Republican Party, bringing in new people. Sutton agrees, but the chairman argues that attracting new party members shouldn't mean changing core principles.
It's not about modifying what we believe in, it's about communicating it better. And you look at the failure of what we've done. You look at 06 and 08, but even going back to 04, when we still won the presidency, but it was a very difficult election year otherwise, that there's been this drift among right-of-center voters, from middle-of-the-road right-of-center on over, away from the GOP because of the loss in confidence over things, for example, like fiscal issues. The party of fiscal responsibility was spending money like crazy in Washington. The party of limited government oversaw the biggest increase in government until Barack Obama. It's hard to go back to right-of-center voters and say, hey, more of the same. And so they kind of drifted off, either didn't vote for us, or some folks voted for the other party just out of the desire to shake up the status quo, for change. And I think it's not as though the country became liberal and voted for Barack Obama. I think they lost confidence in what the Republican Party was talking about.
Sutton said Republicans are not anarchists. They're not against government, but they do believe the size of government, the amount of government spending, needs to be contained.
And if we keep sucking money out of the private sector, out of your pocket, my pocket, business, the pocket of business, those folks and those jobs are going to go someplace else. I mean, you can't love employment and hate employers, which is what the Dems talk about. They want good-paying jobs, but tax the tar out of people who are creating those jobs. And what we're trying this red herring about, we need to have a good education system and things like that in order to attract business. Yes, we do, but we can't sustain that education system unless we have the business tax base to begin with. There's not a cave someplace with a bunch of rich people just going to pay all these taxes.
Sutton gets emotional in talking about job creation and nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit. To him, politics isn't simply an interesting game, he explained. It's important, it's real.
Well, I am not just a political hack. This isn't like, I'm really interested in politics, and this is fun, this little chess game between Republicans and Democrats. This isn't a chess game. This isn't about seeing who can get the most offices and there not be any difference between the parties. This is about really improving this state, about improving this country. And I think most Republicans believe, the way to do that is to keep government limited.
Sutton expects Republican Party fortunes to begin to brighten next election. Failure is not an option.
I can't even focus on anything less than. If for some reason that isn't the case, then I don't know how else to evaluate it. I guess I'm pretty hard on myself. I look at this as a 2-year gig for me. That we're going to do everything it takes in our power to try and win this election coming up. And if we don't win, I'll figure they're going to run me out of town on a rail. I mean, I do. I think that there's the activists are pretty. They want results.
Sutton and his wife Bridget have 4 children. Sutton replaced former party chairman Ron Carey. While Sutton talks about his party being aggressive, a radio ad Republicans are running against DFL Secretary of State Mark Ritchie, suggesting the secretary influenced the U.S. Senate recount, brought a reaction from DFL State Party Chairman Brian Melendez. Republicans can't seem to be bothered by the real challenges Minnesota families are facing, said Melendez in a statement. Quote, instead, the Republicans are playing the divisive politics of the past, tactics that voters have overwhelmingly rejected. I'm Tim Budig, and this has been ECM Capital Comment.